What's up, 1Batch2Batch Outdoors? We had a two-part interview with CRANKEDTV with Chris. If you ever watched the first episode, you're caught up. Enjoy the second part here. It's a great interview. Hope you like it. Like, I think that's where fishing and hunting are so different. Being with buddies and sharing the same exact moment with the same exact fish. Anyone can go out there and put a pole in the water. So based on your depth, like, what's the ideal depth? Like, if let's say you're going after, like, you just wanted to hit a bunch of, sunfish, perch, bluegills, and whatnot. You want to, and you're hammered down because you have a fish fry. Like, at what depth are you like, yeah, I know this lake's this depth here. I know this is what this depth's at based on the location of the lake, on how much does vegetation underneath matter, if any at all?
For depths, I would say it doesn't matter with the depth.
Even if it's like different species, like it don't matter.
It don't really matter. I've caught fish in a foot of water. I've caught them in 15 feet of water. It's just wherever they're at that time or at that point. But it does matter with the bottom and everything. They got to be around food sources or like with weeds to protect from predator fish and stuff.
Yep.
So it's pretty similar to the summer in a sense. It's just there's ice on the water,
Yeah,
like the water is ice.
Well, yeah, water is ice when it freezes at 32 degrees. I think everyone in sixth grade chemistry knows that. So just based on that simple common knowledge that their water is ice, there's not a big difference between summer and ice fishing in that way of like just. So it's pretty much just like you pretty much randomly pick a spot, and like you said, if an hour later on you haven't caught much or anything at all, move to the next spot type deal and just kind of run and gun that way, and until you start, and once you get into fish, like obviously you ain't moving.
No, I typically will just set up around that area.
Now, what are, like, obviously everyone has, in summertime, like you have your limit of fish, you have your slots. Is it pretty much the same for ice fishing? Like, hey, you can catch this many fish, for your daily bag limit. Here's your slot between keepers, and you have to put them back. Like, pretty much the same as far as ice. And does it change as much versus like summertime? I mean, everywhere is different, obviously,
right,
but
the lakes have different set limits and stuff. I know season-wise, like in the winter, like I know you can't target predator fish after a certain point. Like you can't fish for northern and stuff like that, depending where you're at. So it varies. Like I know in Illinois, you can keep as many panfish as you want. If I'm right,
there's no limit there.
Some places, yeah.
How does that work?
Or not as I didn't say as many. I think it's 50, maybe. I don't know. It's a big number.
How does that work between like going across line, like different state to state? It don't just you have to buy an out of state fishing license, ice fishing license, I should say, and it doesn't. You just pretty much set up wherever you want, and you go by their slot limits and their bag limits, right?
Right. So you just buy the out of state license, but that's good for all year round. So summer fishing, winter fishing, it just expires at a certain point.
Right.
So renew it.
So generally, there is like an ice fishing season. Like, regular fishing will start, I don't know, usually like last 2 weeks of May or April for around the couple first weeks of May. And obviously it goes up until there's, October-ish or.
That is, yeah.
So when does like ice fishing generally start in Wisconsin?
Well, for me this year was November, but I'd say usually really everybody gets into it towards like December and January when it gets a lot thicker because some people don't like to be as risky.
Yeah, that'd be me. I would definitely waiting for 6 inches, or 6 inches would be my bare minimum.
I know we had one of our buddies out, and he's a heavy set guy, and he was out there on 3 inches, and it was cracking every step. It was
I would be fishing 300 feet away from that guy. Like, hey man, when you fall through, I'll catch you at the other end. That's what always just drove me away from trying to do ice fishing, because I just don't want to fall through.
You just gotta take the precautions. I mean, it is a big safety thing. Have your picks with you to get out. Check the ice thickness before you step on it. If it gets warmer that day, say you go out on early ice in November like we were, if we see that it would get 45 to 50 degrees in a day, well, we're probably not going to either, to watch what we're doing, or we're just going to not go out. Cause
now, like you say that, like if it's early ice in November and you should see it's going to get up to like 45 degrees that day, or you're like, all right, we're going to ice fish in the morning. And we're going to give it to about noon or whenever it starts to really warm up. And it's like, depending on the thickness of this, like obviously if it's like...
You'll see if it's
3
melting.
See if it's like, oh, there's a lot more water sitting on top of this. Like, it's time for us to get moving. Like you said, just being safe about it that way. That's how you would kind of determine, hey, it's early ice. It's going to get this hot today. Like, we'll give it a shot, up until this point of whether ice is melting, we can hear it cracking and moving underneath us, or it finally hits this temperature. Like, you just kind of play it by ear that way.
Yeah, like I know one trip this year we went out and it was cold in the morning, so everything was frozen. But by the time we went to get off it, it heated up to like 40, and we could almost not get off the ice because it was at the shorelines always break up first.
Yep.
And then the rest goes. Well, the shorelines were really weak, so we were worried about trying to pull all of our gear through and stuff. Falling through at the shore. It's not deep, but it's still cold.
No, yeah, it don't matter how deep it is. I mean, water that's cold is cold. So like yeah, generally like when you go out to ice fish, whether I mean obviously early ice you would dress a little more differently than you would right now where it's been like in the I mean we had one day a couple days ago where it was like last week was like in the 40. Like, we had one day in the 40s last week. Tuesday last week was like 44. But I mean generally like the last month it's been nothing but teens and single digits. Like the ice is good, and if you're not using a shanty as much. How like when you go out there and dress, like obviously you're not going to wear all your gear in your truck driving out to the lake, but when you get to the lake you dress like you would if you're going to the tree stand. Well, generally like how many layers are you wearing, and like what determines like I'm going to wear this many layers today, I'm going to wear my bibs today. Obviously I would assume you're wearing like big tall boots in case you do fall through, like on the shoreline, like on a day that like you said in November it's early ice, you fall through. It's only a foot of water, you're wearing your knee-high boots, like, you're good. Like, generally, like, what are you wearing out there for gear that way?
So I have ice bibs and I have ice coat, which are rated for, like, -15, and they are a hard water suit, so they do float.
So, like, now, if it just floats because it hits water, I've seen, like, weird ones where they look thin and then they hit water on impact and they, like, blow up,
This one's thick, but the only issue is I think I watched a video one time. There was a guy that fell through, but his suit was so heavy he couldn't pull himself out because he was so tired. But
it makes a lot of sense.
It keeps you afloat for a while, but eventually it gets heavy and
water will weigh it down.
Right.
But you would hope that is
by that time you get out.
Well, I would assume, based on that reason, because how sketchy, not just ice fishing is, but ice fishing is sketchy just because of, water is very unpredictable. But because ice, it can always, you never know what's going on underneath the water. Like currents come and go and make water weaker in certain spots because of the currents flowing. It doesn't allow the ice to build up as thick. Now, would you say, would you ever ice fish alone, or is it always kind of like, yeah, I'm not going to go out. I wouldn't go out without a buddy. Like, let's say you fall through, you're too tired to pull yourself up, like you said, that guy. If you don't have a fucking buddy to pull you up, dude, like you're screaming, and hopefully someone's on the lake that's within shout distance from you,
Right, which that did happen with that guy. There was a couple guys that were not too far away, and they heard that he was in trouble and went and got him. But, I mean, I fish by myself sometimes, but it's always fun to, even with hunting, you sit with somebody, it's just, you're out there just doing it.
It's that camaraderie aspect of it where it's, you get to enjoy the catching. I think, hunting and fishing's, in that ways, you're not. Some people sit in the same tree stand or sit next to each other. But like when I say I hunt with somebody, I'm not like he's in that tree. I'm this close to him in the same tree. But at the end of the day, you can meet back up at the truck, or you meet up in a certain spot and walk back to the truck, and you're just kind of like, you see anything, type deal. But like fishing's so much different because like you're right next to the guy, even in a boat. Like you're with somebody and enjoying the same exact. When I fish, and I don't fish much, but when I do. I almost have more fun like when I'm reeling in and like the guy I'm fishing with, fish bites, and like I pretty much bring in my lure to grab the net for him, and it's even more fun. I enjoy catching my own fish too, but you still take a lot of enjoyment and fun of like, hurry up, Chris has got a fish on, I gotta hurry up and get my net for him because he's saying he needs a net, That's where I think hunting and fishing are very different and very fun, unique ways of. You almost get more or the same excitement as catching it yourself versus like watching someone catch one too, and like being ready on the gun with a net, or like, obviously you don't use nets ice fishing, but I've seen a lot of people have like that hook where you catch the back of the gill plate. I would be like, hey man, hurry up, get the gill, and you get the hook and you hook them up. Like that's like we did that one. Like obviously you caught it, but like we had that. So like I think that's where fishing and hunting are so different, and I think that's what's fun for fishing is like the being with buddies and sharing the same exact moment with the same exact fish, where you don't really get the same exact, hunting wise.
Yeah, I like to take people out for their first times a lot because I catch fish all year and it is fun, but to see somebody else do it, because I know how everything works at this point, but to see other people actually catch the fish and you being able to help them do that so they can experience it, because that's something they won't ever forget. Like, remember that time we went to this lake or this river and I caught that big old fish?
I think everyone has that story. Their first story when it comes to like hunting or fishing is like you remember every single detail. Like, man, that wind was blowing. Like, you just remember every little thing of that day because it was a special moment. So, yeah, I think anyone who's ever hunted or fished can relate, or everyone remembers their first time doing something like that because it is special, and it is you just it's you don't forget those things. Like, I remember all my first when it came to like fishing and hunting, and those are memories that will go with me to my grave, And I think that's what's cool about our community.
That's one big thing why I started YouTube, was to be able to show people who don't know how to do it. I want to be able to put them in a position to be able to do it so they can, build off of it. It's a very difficult thing to learn at first if you don't know anything. I mean, yeah, you can go to any lake and throw, a bobber out there with a worm, but it gets a lot more detailed than that, the deeper you get into it. Like, there's a guy that I work with that he just started ice fishing this year with me. So I let him use my electronics. I went out there. I was just relaxing, just watching him. And he ended up probably the next day buying the same thing. He just got so excited because he was fishing before, not catching them. Then he goes and catches them. It puts that flame in somebody to start doing it. So I love that stuff.
Well, I think definitely the best way to learn a lot of things is you just get out there and you just do it. Like trial and error. I think what did you just say about getting out there and learn? Like, he can just go out there and anyone can go out there and put a pole in the water, and like I had the same analogy. I think it was in the first episode. Correct me if I'm wrong. Any guy can go out in a tree and just maybe see deer, but it takes that extra effort and dedication to try to understand their patterns and why they want to eat this and what time of the year and the temperature, and giving yourself the best opportunity to pick the right tree to see deer. So I think it's a similar thing. Is like anyone can go out there and like just put a pole in the water and maybe catch a fish, but knowing I'm using the right bait, I'm going after the right species. Like, I mean, sometimes you might go out there for a walleye and you might catch nothing but bluegill. Like, you caught fish, but sometimes you can try to minimize how many stranglers you catch or whatever, and just by using the right bait, right lures, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I totally agree with you on that. So now a question I have for you, because last episode of 1Batch2Batch we talked about like hunting apps, like Onyx is I think probably the most popular one. And I had this thought: are you able to use Onyx the same? Like, I would mark a tree for hunting. Would you like use Onyx and be like, I'm marking this lake because I know this lake will bite, and I'm marking this location because I know the way this lake funnels into this inlet, and like, do you or do you know people that get that in depth with using stuff like that?
There is an app that's called Navionics, and it's lake depths and everything. It's like $15 a year.
So Onyx Maps has its own thing for just lakes.
I think it's a different company or something.
Oh, is it? So they just use the same
concept.
Name. It's Navy Onyx.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's definitely, it helps me a lot because now I can go out there and I know that, this is how deep this is going to be when I get there, so I can expect it instead of just going out there and putting your thing in the water saying, oh, this is this deep, and then you walk over here and it's the same but it's different over here. Now I can actually, and then it shows like the little, all the little details down there, humps, deeper holes, all sorts of stuff. So
that's cool. So you do use that?
Yes, quite a bit actually.
And how much is it taking a lot of like thought process out of like, well, I know I can go to this spot because I remember this, this time last year, 2 years ago, I fished here. You can tell you what I'm thinking about is just hunting. Now I'm talking about outdoor stuff, I'm addicted, but, so it doesn't take a lot of thinking out of like using the Navionics of like, hey, I know I marked this spot out 2 years ago. I remember this lake. I remember we caught this many fish, I was using this kind of bait. Is there a way to log all that in that app and like makes the planning a trip a little bit easier knowing you have that backlog?
Yeah, so there's like pins you can drop. So what I would do in the summer is we would troll a lot, which is just dragging poles, lines behind you. And every time we'd catch a fish, as soon as as soon as somebody hooked it, hey, mark that on navigation so we know that when we come back through here or we come through this spot where they're at. So I don't even know, probably like 20 lakes with probably 100 marks on them.
I think it'd be hard. You say trolling, because like sometimes trolling is like it's like a nice way of snagging fish. You drag the meal past their face and like, yeah, I'll eat that. But I feel like if that works for you, obviously. But I feel like if I was gonna mark a place on a lake, it's because I casted and casted. Like every time I cast, like every other cast, you would just catch fish, fish, and fish. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna mark this spot because man, I threw my line out there 100 times. I caught 50 fish. Every other cast I caught fish. And so I'm gonna mark this. So yeah, that's interesting because I had that thought. I was like, well, why wouldn't you use like Onyx? But now they have Navy Onyx. Why wouldn't you have something like that to mark out depth, mark out tree stumps underneath, rocks underneath, good structure underneath the water? And I mean I was thinking about that. I was like, man, that'd be kind of cool. I gotta have someone on here that knows ice fishing because I don't.
Yeah, it's all the same thing. It's even with hunting, everything. If you do the time and put the work in with it, you will have success, at some point or eventually.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go, 4 years of hunting, and you could, not, getting a deer, or same with fishing. You could go on trips and not catch them, but you just put in that little bit of work and just be prepared to fail, because you're gonna have trips where you go and don't catch anything. There's plenty of them that happen in a year.
I can say the biggest thing that I've learned so far with hunting, you can know your area pretty well. You can kind of know how deer move in your area, but sometimes, like, even just because you know it, it's still a game of percentages, and just sometimes just dumb luck. And I think what sometimes beats that dumb luck is just that persistence. Like, I know there's fish here. I'm gonna keep fishing here because I know they're here. I'm just gonna figure out what they want to eat, because you might be using minnows and be like, they don't want that. They want what's another popular live bait besides minnows? Waxworms. That's what I was thinking of.
Fly larva.
So they might not be wanting minnows, but you're like, I know there's fish here, and without even using that your radar sonar camera underneath to see the fish, like, you just know there's fish there. You just gotta pick their brain, figure out what do they want to eat. Do they want me just to use a bare jig and just dance in front of them to entice them, or what they want to get after and eat? Same thing with, like, hunting. I think it's like, where they are. It's like, but based on the time of the year, if it's rut or whatever, you just what are their travel corridors? Like, they want to go here, but how are they getting there? They might not be taking the route you think they are. So you just try to stay persistent and stay with exactly what you want the outcome to be, and you want to have success. You just stay persistent with what you do know and try to figure out a new way to do the same thing.
Yeah, it's a big thing, is persistence.
So
I'd say with everything you do outdoors wise.
That's what I'm saying. It's not just hunting.
Patience
and persistence. And like I said, you can know there's fish there. It's like, just like I said, trying to figure them out. Stay persistent and just have that patience. Like, I know they're gonna come because they gotta eat at some point. They're gonna eat, and they're gonna get hungry enough to eat this shit. So you said, yeah, you kind of briefly brought up talking about starting up your YouTube channel. What made you think, yeah, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel?
So I had lived up in Green Bay for a while, or around Green Bay, and then I came back down here, and one of my buddies was fishing. He just started doing YouTube himself, and so I went out on him with that first trip, and I think we caught, I don't even know, we probably caught over 50, 60 bass that day.
Do you think the bass knew that you were filming, and they're like, we want to be on camera, so we're just going to give ourselves up?
I don't know. It was probably just dumb luck where we stopped at, but I seen that, he was making videos and doing it, and I really didn't have any hobbies at the time. So then I had a GoPro already, so I went out and filmed, and then it just became addicted to it. It was like, man, I got to shoot another video and another one and another one, and so eventually it just got big enough to where I just kept rolling with it.
So other than just your own personal satisfaction, there's no real rhyme or reason why you just wanted to start filming. You're just like, man, this is fun. I enjoy doing this, and I just want to put it out there.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, just kind of took a risk doing it, and hey, it worked.
So, how long have you had your YouTube channel so far?
I've only been on there for about a year.
A year now? And how many subs do you have?
300.
Oh,
So,
good. Yeah,
I'm
that's
climbing.
awesome. Climbing up there. That means I feel like if, obviously a year's not that long in, retrospect of like doing, especially like podcast or like YouTube channel, like putting out videos and content, like takes time to edit, takes time to actually go out and do the material like fishing or hunting. It takes time to do all that. And, a year is not that long. And, I think, you must be doing something right if, you have that many subscriptions and people interested in watching you do what you do. To have that many in only a year, because a year really isn't that long. People think about it, and I mean, you must be doing something right and doing something where people want to really grasp on and watch you fish. And I mean, when you do your videos, I gotta ask, are you just fishing, or are you kind of like breaking down like, hey, we're doing this today because we want to go after smallmouth bass, and this is what we're gonna do, and this is what we're gonna use, and this is where we're gonna go, and this is what we're gonna target. Like obviously bass, in general love big structures underneath water, and they'll wait by them structures, and then once they see that bait, they go out and they hammer that down. So like, I mean, do you just film yourself fishing, or you go out there and you try to break down, hey, this is what we're doing today, we're going to go after walleye, we're going to use these types of jigs, we're going to use this type of bait, and stay tuned, or whatever it is you say? Like, do you just go out and fish, or you try to break down what you're doing?
So I would say...
Long-winded question for the smallest answer. My bad.
I would say, man, I just lost that. What did you ask me? I feel like we gotta shorten that up a little bit.
Yeah, I really had a long-winded question, and when it could have been really narrowed down. But no, I guess what I'm asking is, because I repeated it like 5 different fucking times.
Yep.
When you make your YouTube videos, like, are you just going out there and fishing and like recording that? Or are you trying to, when you record your videos, are you like breaking down like, hey, we're going after this specific fish today, we're going to use this specific type of bait, we're going to use a specific type of, action underneath the water? Like, are you breaking it down to like kind of teach a DIY video of how to do it? Or are you just going out there fishing for the fun of it and just, filming, recording it, and putting it out there?
So when I first started, I was just going out and catching fish. If I started catching them, I'd start filming. And then as I got and progressed with it and seeing the feedback from it, people want to see how you do it or what you're using. So then I try to incorporate it into the videos. But it is a hard game trying to self-film and, stay on fish because they're always moving. So
Yeah, I've never had a self-film hunt in, 1Batch2Batch Nation. All 5 of you. No, I mean, I think it'd be kind of fun to, I've never had to do it, but, this upcoming hunting season, definitely wouldn't mind trying to do like a self-filmed hunt. And I've known, like, I've watched a lot of YouTube guys do that, and they say how hard it is, and I can only imagine, like, not only are you trying to capture, the deer walk, and you're also trying to capture, you pull them back and get ready for it, and like the initial shot, and like everything else. I can only imagine it's not that much different trying to do it for fishing too, whether it's, on a boat or out on the ice. Like, not only are you trying to get all the action of the fish, but you're also trying to, I mean, I've never done it, so I can only imagine it's not that easy.
It's a grind.
Does it take away, do you go out there and like, when you make a video, you're like, I don't want to do this much work today, so like, I'm just gonna go out there and film and just let them enjoy me catching fish? Or do you go out there and you're like, well, I'm going to do a instructional video. I know I probably won't catch as many fish, but this is for the fucking people?
A lot of my videos kind of just happen. They just go out there and they just happen. Some of them I planned ahead what I was going to do and what I was going to use and what I want to put in it. But a lot of times I just go out there and just start filming, and then I'll throw what I'm using into it, and just kind of, as time went on, it kind of progressed with how I made my videos, started adding like music and stuff to them. So
I'm sure that's a totally different game to learn too when you've never really done it and you just kind of jump into it, is editing and throwing in, when to cut, when to do all this, when to put in music, the right, volume to put music into. And I'm sure that's a whole new thing you had to learn too, on top of just, learning your craft of fishing and ice fishing. But would you say you're more of an ice fisherman over Mr. Fisherman, or would you just lump them together?
I do it all. All year round.
All year round. So you would say you fish more than you hunt. That's your thing, is fishing?
Yeah, I know. Well, I do take time in the fall, like for hunting, especially. Like I started bow hunting this year, and that stuff is addicting.
We'll have to have you. We'll have to have you back on for bow hunt, because that is my true addiction.
I know I spent a lot of time this year. I spent like 2 weeks in the same tree stand on the same property, and the deer just are crazy, man.
Oh, I know we're talking about ice fishing, but I gotta know. So you sat in the same tree for 2 weeks. Did you have any success?
Yeah, some small ones I seen. I'm picky.
Why are you picky, man? You had a long season. Meat's meat at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I don't. Spikes are not my thing.
There's nothing wrong with a good. You gotta break your belt on something, man. When you go out hunting for the first time, you're like, you gotta pop your cherry.
Yeah, I know, but
you know what I mean. You sit on the same tree for 2 weeks and you come out with nothing, dude. Dude, they would drive me nuts if I didn't see things I actually wanted to see for 2 weeks. I'd be moving. But I mean, that's yeah, we'll have you back on for hunting season, because man, I'd love to pick your friend about 2 weeks in the same tree. Was it a nice tree? Did you have a nice lawn chair up there, or what?
So yeah,
you built a tree house.
There was 2 tree stands up there.
I bet there was. One for your feet and one for your ass.
Yep.
You just kick up, you see a nice little spike, and you're like, yeah, fucking, I'm not gonna pinch, get myself excited for this.
Yep. Recording with the camera.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, we'll have you back on for the hunting season, because that'd be fun to see what your methods are. But yeah, I think the best way to sum up everything is there's many ways to do things, whether it comes to hunting or fishing. And obviously, I appreciate having it on, because like I said, I don't have much experience at all, because I've never done it with ice fishing. But yeah, we're gonna have to plan a time to go out there, and you
most definitely
take me I'll blossom for you, and you'll take me, just be gentle. I've never done it, so you have to really show me the ropes here. Yeah, ease me into it. Obviously, I know you don't spit on your line, so I'm a little concerned for myself. But no, yeah, I'm not. I know. I told Darren on Detox. If you guys haven't watched Detox, go out there and watch that. I got 2 episodes. Spent a lot of time in between. Obviously, on the second one we did this evening. We're shooting on the same night. I kind of told him, like, I was telling you, like, he said I hated ice fish. I don't hate it. I just don't know much about it. Never done it. And that's the thing about this channel we really want to capture is it's because I've never had someone to take me, so it's hard to try to get into something when you have no one to take you and teach you just the bare basics, So I've never had that, so it's I'm kind of interested seeing how you do things and how you would pick a spot, and I'm interested to learn it, and I hope we can plan a time here soon to get going on that.
It should be a blast, man.
So as we wrap this thing up here, you want to tell people where to find you?
So pretty much all my social media, YouTube, it's all CRANKEDTV. It's all capital. That's pretty much it.
We'll have a link in the description too. But yeah, you guys want to go learn how to ice fish and not be as dumb as me trying to do it the first time or talk about it, go check this guy out. He's got a lot of stuff out there. Make sure you subscribe to him too. He's got a good channel. Give the guy some love. So appreciate having on, Chris, and
appreciate you for having me.
1Batch2Batch Outdoors. This is the 3rd episode, and I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you do subscribe and like the channel. Let's get this thing going, and don't forget to go like CRANKEDTV on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
No Twitter.
No Twitter. Oh man, I thought we had it all, huh?
Nope.
Well, just wherever you can go find CRANKEDTV, go give the guy a like and give a follow and subscribe to him. He's got a lot of good content out there, and thanks for watching, guys.